The campaign for president isn't the only contest on the race card this year. Today's guest, U.S. Senator Rick Scott from Florida, is the Navy veteran, businessman, and governor who recently headed the National Republican Senate Committee. In 2024, control of the U.S. Senate is up for grabs. And as Rick Scott knows better than anyone, the stakes couldn't be higher. From Ballard Studios in Washington, D.C., it's 13th and Park.
We give you information, not a panic attack.
I mean, look what's going on. I mean, my God.
This was it. The kids were gonna die.
That time is gone forever.
This is the biggest story in America.
We weren't prepared for this.
Don't you want to speak truth to power?
Toughest thing I ever had to do.
Well, Senator, these are interesting days, to say the least, aren't they?
They are. But think about just the last, 2 weeks, what's happened. President Trump almost getting assassinated, to Biden stepping down and Kamala Harris getting the nomination. A lot of changes.
Obviously, the events in Butler, Pennsylvania, captured the attention of the world. But as it also turns out, in the days that followed, President Trump wasn't the only one under fire. Let's cue the clip and get your reaction.
I would say, as I have said from the very outset, I accept responsibility for this tragedy. We are going to look into how this happened, and we are going to take corrective action to ensure that it never happens again.
Director Cheadle, because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable.
I believe your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace. Your obfuscating today is shameful, and you should be fired immediately and go back to Garden Doritos. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
What impact, Senator, does this have on the Secret Service moving forward? And is it a good thing that the director has now been given her walking papers?
Well, first off, I think she did the right thing by resigning. Whether she was asked to resign or whether she resigned, I don't know. I think that's the right thing. Here's what I don't understand. Why didn't she and Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security, and Wray do daily briefings?
Right.
And by the way, they're not going to have perfect information. We all know that. But tell us what you know. When the Pulse nightclub shooting happened, when I was governor, we did with local law enforcement, state law enforcement, federal law enforcement, 2 or 3 times a day, we did a briefing and we told people, here's what we know, here's what we don't know. If Cheadle had come out immediately and say, look, I'm furious that on my watch this happened, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this and tell you right now, this cannot happen again, it'd be a totally different day.
Right.
But she didn't do that.
Well, Governor, you have a lot of experience. When I say governor, I always know you as governor, as opposed to senator. When you were governor of Florida, you had a lot of experience, hands-on experience with natural disasters, with hurricanes. I want to cue this clip from one of your many conferences during Hurricane Irma, and then we're going to talk about whether or not the country is really as prepared as it should be to handle crisis.
We are being very aggressive in our preparation for this storm, and every Floridian, every family should take this seriously and be aggressive. You've got to protect your family. Possessions can be replaced, your family cannot. This is serious, and we cannot take chances. It is life-threatening. This is not a storm you can sit and wait through. One of our top priorities right now is fuel availability. We know there are problems with supply at gas stations and are working around the clock to get fuel to you.
Senator, you just said that giving information, timely information, continually is one of the big keys. And I remember many of those press conferences you held. I was there in Florida during Irma, like many residents. We were looking to someone to reassure us. And with that Navy cap, you really gave us that shot in the arm. Do you think we are good, we being this country, or as good as we need to be in addressing crisis?
No, I mean, if you think about on those hurricanes, number one, keep everybody alive.
Yeah.
Keep everybody alive. Then start solving problems. And so in a hurricane, what you learn is you just cannot run out of fuel. You've got to get the electricity back on. All right. You've got to get communications up. So what we did was constantly told everybody what we're doing. So think about this. We have wonderful Secret Service agents. They want to protect the president. We have wonderful people that work at the FBI. What I've said all along is our leadership is like a black box. There's no information. What it does is it taints everybody. And I've said this to every federal agency, law enforcement agency, I think, since I've been up here. Give people the facts, because what you're doing is you're allowing conspiracies to grow.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that with your life?
Yeah.
It's not fair to the American public.
You also sit, obviously, on the Senate Armed Services Committee. You're a Navy veteran. You care very deeply about the defense of this country. What is your assessment of how we're doing in terms of military preparedness, and what your assessment is as well about all the many exigencies that seem to be coming at us from other parts of the world?
Well, number one, you have to thank everybody that's willing to put on the uniform.
Yeah.
But what we've got to stop and think about is, why is it that our recruiting numbers are down? Why is it that our readiness is down? It is. We have now arch enemies. The government of China, the government of Russia, the government of Iran. We've got bad guys in our hemisphere now. So do I think we're in the position we ought to be in? We're not even close to where we should be. And it's an all hands on deck. All of us. What can all of us do? So what can I do as a citizen? Well, I know that communist China wants to demolish our way of life. Stop giving them our dollars to help build up their treasury. Would you do that to your arch, that somebody wants to destroy you?
Right.
No. This stuff is simple. Don't give Iran more money, because we know what they're going to do. They're going to go do drone attacks against our ally Israel. This stuff is simple, but we have to do all of it.
When you came to Washington, you came armed with the theme, make Washington work. I think you remember that very well. We all do. How is Washington working right now? And what would you do? I mean, a lot of people put your name ahead as a potential successor to Mitch McConnell, as Senate Majority Leader, if Republicans retake control of the Senate. What would you do with a make Washington work kind of mantra to change the way Washington works?
So I'm a business guy. In business, what you do is you say, I'm here, okay? And I've got to get to here. What are the things I have to do? So it's typically you set up a process and you work your process. That's what I did when I was governor. That's why I did my business life. Up here, what I'm frustrated about is we don't say, hey, these are our 5 or 3 or 2 biggest issues. Like, take the border. That should not be a partisan issue. We should say, we are going to put a whole bunch of effort to solve this problem. Inflation, how are we going to do that? Now, what I would do is I'd actually pass a budget. I passed a budget in business. I have a budget personally, and I passed a budget when I was governor. If I was the majority leader, I'd say we're going to pass a budget every year. Right. We're gonna sit here until the budget is done. If that means we're here every week, week after week after week until we do it, that's what we're going to do. It's our job. And so I would just take each issue and start addressing each issue and say, we're going to stay here until we solve that issue.
Sounds like you're going to cancel all leave, as they would say in the Navy, right?
I think when people decide that they don't get to leave until you get a result, they actually move faster. We all do, right? If we know we have to do something, we seem to be able to make decisions faster.
Okay, so let's get to the big news of the week. Obviously, Kamala Harris, the vice president, is now moving very quickly to become the Democratic nominee to take on President Trump. What's your assessment of that race, the dynamics of that race, and how do you think, using your crystal ball, where is this going?
I think President Trump is still going to win because she's not better than Biden. She might even be worse than Biden from the standpoint of the issues. She's the border czar, and that's failed. And I don't think she makes anybody feel comfortable that she has a foreign policy plan that makes any sense. She doesn't have, any experience with the military. So I think that she's going to have a very difficult time winning. I don't know what her message would be. She can say, hey, I was there. I lied to you about how Biden was, but trust me now. I mean, she wants an open border. She didn't care about spending, and she doesn't care about the military. So I don't know what's going to change.
Well, it's hard for her, obviously, to separate herself from President Biden on any of the policy fronts. And it's the policy we've seen in poll after poll that have proven immensely unpopular among most Americans.
It's not made sense since Biden came in. It's not popular to have an open border. It's not popular to have more people die of fentanyl. It's not. And why is he doing these things? I mean, let's just say it's just a pure politician. It's politically, that's stupid.
I would go with the expression only Joe knows, right? But so last question. Obviously, you used to be the head of the National Republican Senate Committee. You have a big focus on Senate campaigns around America. Control of the Senate is truly up for grabs. The odds makers have said Republicans have a great shot. What races in particular are you looking at?
Well, the only 2 incumbents that have competitive races are Ted Cruz and mine. So assuming that both of us work hard and we can win our races, that keeps us at 49. West Virginia, we should almost, it's almost a guarantee we pick up that. So it gets us to 50. Now, I think after that, we have a great opportunity with Bernie Moreno in Ohio, with Tim Sheehy in Montana, with Sam Brown in Nevada, with Kerry Lake in Arizona. Some of them are harder, but I think we have a good opportunity with Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania. I think we have an opportunity in Wisconsin, Michigan. A lot of it is how good are our candidates, how good is our fundraising, how well does President Trump do in each of these states. I think we'll get a majority. It'd be nice to get a sizable majority. We have a lot of new candidates that are running, which is exciting, and also sometimes you don't know exactly what they're going to say. I know when I ran in 2010 and did my first debate, my debate team said, "Don't say anything you haven't said before. We can win this." You know how it is when you're running. I think your whole team thinks, "God, if we just had a good candidate, this would be so easy."
Well, Senator, as a former operative, we all mean well when we say things like that, even though they don't add up and make any sense. Well, I know you're busy. I know we got you in the middle of your day. Good luck in your reelection race. Thank you so much for your service to this country. Thank you so much for what you said earlier in this interview about it's all hands on deck, it's all hands in to get this country moving again.
All right, have a great day.
Take care of yourself, Senator.